Get yourself one of these. If you get a chance with the little clicker on the top. It's wonders for starting your smoker. Get everything nice and hot at the bottom. Start putting pine needles in. We have our little setup here. Pine needles. We got a little magnet for your hive tool if you forget one. And just put it on your pants and then the hive tool will stick to it. Jar. Oh yeah, like that. Jar for excess wax that we take off. And then we have the frame stands if we need them. But we have some built-in ones. You can see them right about there and there on each of our hive stands. Whoop. Whoop. So here's our setup. We got our bucket, which has a harness on the outside we got from Duluth Trading. It's expensive, but it's been the most useful thing that we've gotten for beekeeping that's not beekeeping equipment. We fill it with pine needles and then random other things.
And it has all these pockets, which is wonderful because we have our Therapic in case we get stung. We've got some markers, magnifying glass in case we need to see a little bit better. Marking pens for queens and scissors in case we need that. Some frame wrists, a queen clip, which is always helpful, you know. And then I'm just going to finish lighting the smokers up. I get a little bit of pine straw in here, ball it up really well, and I'm going to use this amazing torch that we got. And then just light it up.
Yeah, if you start your smoker with just a regular lighter and you say that works, it works just fine, I don't want to change, that's fine too. We did that for a year. One of the people in our beekeeping club started his smoker with this, and I love trying new things, so we got one, and I don't think I'm gonna go back. This made it so easy. I mean, pine needles in the first place make it super easy, and it's cooler smoke for the most part. It does get pretty hot, but once you start stuffing on top, it becomes very cool. So keep in mind, as beginner beekeepers, if you smoke your hands and your hive tool, that will help the bees not communicate to each other, hey, sting this. So if you get stung, smoke yourself a little bit. Smoke the spot that you got stung, smoke your tool, your gloves. If you don't wear gloves, smoke your hand a little bit. Most people in our area wear gloves, especially during the fall, winter time. Spring and summer here on our property, we don't wear gloves. It's just so much easier. We'll give the front of our hive a couple of puffs right in the entrance. So if you did notice the yellow jackets, we put in Mite Away quick strips a couple weeks ago, and that means you have to open the very front of the hive all the way. That plus the dead they were bringing out attracted lots of yellow jackets, and we're currently fighting that. So that's what she was doing, stepping on them. Yeah, that's not an all year thing. You see our inner cover, homemade. Boxes homemade.
I'm just looking at the level of the feed here.
And we'll get our inspection started. So this August morning, or getting close to afternoon, we're going to take this hive apart, do an inspection, see what they look like. Might take the hog half comb off today. As you can tell, they're flying in and out real quick. No fighting means no robbing. They need a bigger entrance, and we're just not going to give it to them because of the cold at night. Look at all that propolis. That's what we here like to see. Makes life difficult, but I like to see it. So for the newer beekeepers, a stand for your frames is a good idea. If you can't afford it, you can just set it next to the hive, just on the ground, but make sure you check your frames real good, because when you have lots of bees, you don't want to put your queen on the ground. This is one of the few hives we have with a screen bottom board, which may be going away next year. We have to have a chat about that. We always put our inner cover towards the front of the hive whenever we take it off, so that if they want to jump up and go back in, they can. Check out this little guy. Taking a little drink. They'll clean that up. When putting in the last frame, make sure you have adequate space so you don't roll any of the bees. You want to look at both sides and make sure none of them are just spilling off onto the edge or the sides. And then what we'll do is we'll come back and we're going to move this side over to make sure the spacing on both sides, this spacing, is equal. So if you do the math for a 10 frame hive, it's more than 3/8 on the outside edges, and I'll post in the notes what the actual spacing should be, but typically we just eyeball it and say, yeah, that works. And if we come back next week and there's a whole lot of burr comb or they're building on the wall, we'll take care of that.
Smoke right there.
So wherever we're going to put the beetle blasters, like she said, we'll put a puff of smoke, and then we're going to push down, and then
we don't have any bees underneath.
in the cold it's flexing a little bit, but yep, she's pushing down. The wax might even push back a little bit, but we'll get something. See a bee there with some sort of white pollen or resin. Actually, it looked like resin. It's strange. Let's see her again.
Getting ready for
right there. Anyway, but yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll take our finger here and we'll pull it all the way down so it hits these dividers, for lack of a better term. So there she is. She's going to smoke. She's going to put it in there. I didn't cover the amount of liquid you put in. I put in
here.
Just, oh, there we go.
Just under half?
Yeah, that's max. Because what you'll learn is as you're pulling these guys out, if you have it filled more than that, you could spill into the hive, and basically you'll coat a bee and suffocate them to death. And that's not what we're going for. So, and that's it.
This one went in a lot easier too, if you saw that.
Yep. And then when you go to take them out, press down on the edges, like so. And then what you'll do is
It'll
you'll
just kill any beetles if they're hiding up underneath.
To kill the beetles, and then you'll just lift on that side.
We scrape
all the
on
way
either
down
side like this, and then I don't want to pull it up right now.
Yeah, but then you'll just
get your
wiggle it.
hive tool underneath, pop it up.
Okay. Okay. So we're checking the super right now. We put this frame in a couple weeks ago, and you can tell here, and there where the dark spots are, they're filling with nectar. There's probably some with nectar in it as well, but this is going to be our fall honey right there. It's much darker. But they have not pulled it out all the way, so we're not really going to take that. We'll probably give it to them later on.
The next frame does it. I'll pull the next.
So we're going to pull the next one out so she can show you what we're looking for. And we'll show you what capped honey looks like. Aha! So you can actually see the reflection in the camera of all the nectar in there.
And you can feel the weight. This one's nice and heavy. The other one, not so much.
Yep.
So this is full, side to side, top to bottom. There's a little bit of propolis.
And then, if you're wondering what this is up here, that is all capped honey. So what you want is about 90% of the frame capped honey. So it should all look like almost like a sheet of paper all the way across that's wet a little bit. And then you're ready to extract. Right now, we're not.
And definitely not over
And we're
here.
not on this side either. But they are filling it. We only put these in a couple weeks ago, so pretty happy with that. So this is one of the frames where we had an accident. It happens. You'll flip it sometimes, and when you're showing people or it's just a really hot day, you flip it and a whole section will fall onto the ground. You can tell.
And we don't use foundation, so that is the key. For us, when it gets really heavy, nice full of honey and nectar and everything, you got to be extra careful about how you check out your frames. So we will do this way. Look at one side, turn it
Like a book.
like a book to check out the other side.
And then you can flip it back upside down if you'd like. But never,
Still be really careful.
never flip it straight up and down.
And you can see here where, like he said a minute ago, we had our hive queen. So here's an open, couple of open queen cells. Actually, maybe not that one, but these two for sure.
Yeah, I'll try and get a better look up in there. There we go. Maybe that'll help. You can tell down here, this one is chewed open. That's how you know that they've been released. This cup down here has not been used yet. It's perfect. It's just a queen cup. And what you want to do is look up into there, and we can see right through it. But if there was something in there, it'd be yellow milky, or white milk. And that's going to be your royal jelly. And if you stick a toothpick in there, you'll kill whatever's being fed. And we don't do that, but if you wanted to and you wanted to taste what it's like, we're told it's a lot like coconut.
We're looking at this frame and just checking on stores and seeing if there's any brood. There's clearly not any brood on this frame that I can see. However, it's a pretty cloudy day. It's harder to see eggs if she's laid any in the open cells. But you can see some really nice bee bread, some nectar, and even some of the girls are bringing in some pollen still. So some really pretty bright yellow, which if I'm not mistaken is the goldenrod right now.
So what's the difference between bee bread and pollen?
Bee bread is pollen mixed with some honey. And the bees have mixed it up really well, and that's what they feed the little baby bees, the larvae.
So how can you tell the difference?
The difference is the bee bread will have a completely different texture, actually. It's really thick. It sticks together just like bread.
Is it shiny?
It is a little bit shiny. Not shiny like nectar, but... Okay, so we found the queen on this frame, so we're going to look extra hard for some eggs, make sure she's still laying well. And again, it's a pretty cloudy day, so it's a little more difficult to see the eggs. However, I did find a few at the bottom of the frame here, several cells. Hopefully we can get a good shot of that. They just look like little grains of rice. It's really difficult to see on this on the darker comb here.
Here's our queen. She's looking for some empty space. If she finds some, I want you to look at the front legs. What she's going to do is measure the cell with her front legs to figure out drone cell, worker cell. What should I lay? Is it going to be a fertilized egg for a worker, or is it going to be an unfertilized for a drone? And she is completely stopped at this point. She must know that we're filming her.
Camera shy.
Yeah.
And she does pick, based on what the needs of the colony are, whether it's fertilized or unfertilized. So she gets to choose whether it's a boy or a girl bee.
Now look at her entourage. They are surrounding her. They're looking at what is she doing? Does she need to be cleaned off? Did I put some paint on her lower abdomen that needs to be cleaned? Maybe. I do mark 90% of them. There's a couple that are not marked by me. Also keep in mind, as it does get colder, try not to open your hives if it's less than 60 degrees. That's Fahrenheit. The problem is you do that and the bees will start falling off the comb, the brood will start chilling and die. We're at about 70 right now. So I got a yellow jacket over here. I'm going to try and move the camera up to that. He's moving a lot, but you can see the bees fighting him off. And he's now in a cell eating. Let's see if one of the bees come across and grab him and say, hey, 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 buddy. There it is. And that's what we want to see. You want to see, well, you don't want to put him in this position, but you do want to see your hive caring about the hive and actively doing something about it. So we're back to the queen. She's still sitting there, but that's a beautiful picture of all the bees just surrounding her. So I'm going to stop it and take a picture. Okay, as we take a look here, you see some larvae. If the bees will move, I'll try and move the camera a little bit.
I'm trying to move them out of the way a little bit.
There we are. So there's big fat larvae. That's good. We're going to look down in some of the holes, see if we can find eggs.
And if you come up this way a little bit and move them out of the way again, you can see some capped brood as well.
So there's your capped brood. That looks okay. That's good.
Oops, sorry. There we go.
You can see a couple day old larva there. It's real small, little C's. Without the assistance of the sun, this is more difficult to find eggs, but may have one right there. The bee moves. You can kind of see him reflect just a little bit. And keep in mind, there's a good one down there. So bottom left, bee just walked over it. You can see it in the middle. Looks like a grain of rice. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for those three things: grain of rice, fat larvae that look a lot like that, and then capped. So you'll see whole sections that are capped. It's not a disease, it's normal. This one's getting capped, so you'll see them start building that wax over the top of them.
Super.
We use queen excluders. This is a brand new one. We had on the one in the back there, you can see we had Mite Away quick strips, and it's just easier to put a new one on than to put that back on after it's been over a week and a half. So we're just going to stick a new one on there. They're going to propolyze this, make it smell real good, and this keeps the queen and drones, some of the drones, from coming through. Mainly it keeps the queen from coming through and laying eggs in our super, which we're going to put on next. What we're going to do is make sure it's nice and square to the bottom box. We're going to make sure that the queen excluder should stick out on either side just a hair. That's just how they're made. You see, it's all over the place. Trying to make sure it's nice and square. If you build your own boxes and you can't make the boxes square because, well, when you built it, it wasn't actually square, don't worry about it, because the excluder here sticks out a little bit, and that will cover so that no bees come up. There are some techniques of making the boxes square that we can cover on a later video. So we're putting the top inner cover feeder on, and I'll show you how that works. This I made for a mating nuke, so you'll see there's an entrance there, an entrance over here, there, and there. And so what the plan is I'm gonna have a queen castle essentially, which is 4 nuke boxes with dividers on the inside, like a cross, and then there'll be 4 separate colonies. Right now we're just getting the bees to make it smell real good, so it's not rejected later on by any of the bees. You'll notice that we don't use screens. We have noticed that when we don't use the screens, the bees will soak up this water. Maybe 3 or 4 days, it'll be gone. We've put on the big quartz before, and same thing. 3 or 4 days, soak down, done. This is 2 to 1, and we put pollen in it. That's why it looks like Tang. It's not for space. However, that'd be awesome. Anyway, space bees. We'll put that on. We'll put on a medium box over it, and that's why you'll notice that they're the tiny jars. Even the big jars fit with the medium. And then we'll grab the top, put the top on there. The bees are able to get quick access through here to the feed. We do notice at night that all of the holes will have a little bit of bearding going on, so it helps with keeping the airflow. So this is a bee escape. This bee escape I built, so you can tell the dimensions are not exactly perfect. What I was concerned about is the spacing here. It's supposed to be 9 millimeters. Oh, we might get a chance to see a bee try and use it. 9 millimeters, which means that they're supposed to come out. Oh, a bunch are coming now. Ooh, we got a show. Anyway, they're supposed to be able to go out those exits and then not be able to find their way in. So, wow. I'm happy that I'm taking the video, because here we go. Now we'll watch it for a minute and see if any are able to make it back in. If they are, well, I need to make a new one. But this is the second time we use this one. It worked pretty good the first time. Typically you leave these on for a day or 2 in the hive. So you'll have your super on top, your bee escape under it, so that they can go into the hive and not go back up into that super. However, today I just decided, hey, I'm going to put a solid board under this super, and I'll just put the bee escape on top to make the video and see if they use it. Which you can tell they are, and I don't see any turning around to go back in except for right at the hole. So that's good. So once they make it out of that first triangle, they don't seem to go back in. I'm watching that one. He's been defiant. There he goes. Anyway, so you're done with your inspection. Now what do? Well, you got to grab all your stuff you left out. We replaced the inner cover with a different one. That's why that's there. We got a mess over there. We'll grab it all, we'll stick it together, and then we're going to take a break and take notes. Because every time you put your hive back together, you should just go in while it's fresh, take some notes. That's what we do. There's other folks that will, if the queen's having problems, they'll take this cinder block and they'll flip it up. I'll show you. They'll flip it up like that. That way, as they're going through their... Ooh, we got a problem here. As they're going through their yard, they'll see, hey, this one was having a problem last time, so let's go ahead and do another quick inspection, peek in, or whatever the issue was. But that's why you got to take notes. Some people, they'll write them on top. Hey, this is what happened last time. Next time, do this. That's a good idea too. Like I said, we use Broodminder, so I take the notes on Broodminder. We have hive tracks as well. If you go to the Kiwi Mana site, you can get like 20 or 30% off. They got a coupon, so go try that out. Hive tracks is wonderful. I just find that they ask a lot of questions that I don't really care for the answer. So Broodminder makes it easy. It's just a little word pad. You write something in there and it'll mark where that happens. Always keep your chickens close.